Matt Haig, welcome first and foremost to Elephant Fest. I'm so glad to be able to be talking to you, actually.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. It's very nice to be here. One great thing about this year has been being able to talk to people in different parts of the world. And I've done more of it, actually, than ever. So even though 2020 has been a strange old year, I have liked being able to talk to people like yourself more than I would do normally. So this is good.
It has indeed, and it is maybe the one good thing that came out of all the bad others. So
yeah, strange thing. We all feel further apart in some ways and closer together in other ways. So yes,
indeed. We're going to have 5 questions for Elephant Fest today, and my first question for you is: what would you say defines you as an author?
Very good question. I think recently, in recent years, I try to write optimistically. So I'll often start in a very dark place and I will try and find the optimism or the hope inside that. This wasn't always the case. In my earlier novels were very dark, very bleak, unhappy endings. But now I try to find some kind of honest optimism within a bad situation.
Well, we all need more of that, definitely. How is an idea for a book actually born?
It depends. With me, it takes a very long time. Like, for instance, with my new book, The Midnight Library, I had a small grain of that idea about a decade ago, and I was getting on with other books, and it was bubbling, and I was trying to work out how I'd do the library and this different things, and I didn't know if I'd ever write it. So for me, it's a very, very slow evolution from being a tiny seed to growing into something bigger, and there's no single moment. Normally with me, there's no single one moment. It's like a very slow process of coming together in my head, even though the writing of it is quite relatively quick. I can write a book quite quickly, but getting the idea it's slow.
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because that was my very next question to you. The Midnight Library actually starts from this beautiful assumption that we all carry a library of unlived lives within us. When did this metaphor first start to haunt you? Because it's highly evocative.
I think about 2 years ago, I got the library. I was wanting to do parallel lives. I wanted to do some sort of world where you sort of disappeared into a different life. And then I had the idea of a library, because I think that's what a library already is. You know, a library is a place where you go to and you can access different worlds via the books on the shelves. You can sort of escape yourself and see other versions of yourself via proxy, via seeing other characters. So once I got that metaphor, I knew it was sort of a neat one. There's also a short story, The Library of Babel by Borges, who
exactly
had an idea of an infinite library. It's a different kind of library, but it was the idea of an infinite library came from that. I just thought, wouldn't it be interesting if each of the books, rather than it being a different version of a book, could be a different version of a life? And when I got that sort of thing, I thought, yes, this is going to be.
Do you have a favorite place in all of literature? A fictional place?
Well, not so much in fantasy fiction. I suppose I go back to children's books. So I go to things like The 100-Acre Wood, in Winnie the Pooh and House of Pooh Corner.
Yeah.
Or there's an English book. I don't know if it's well read abroad. Do you know the book Cider with Rosie?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, by Laurie Lee. And that's part of the English countryside in a place called the Cotswolds. And it's a part of the countryside, but doesn't really exist anymore because it was set 100 years ago. It was just before motor cars came in and sort of ruined everything. It was just before farming became industrial. And it's like a nostalgic view of the British countryside, which doesn't exist now. So I would say, if I wanted to escape somewhere, I'd escape back there, or I would escape into 100 Acre Wood, or, Narnia, obviously, would be good. I don't know. Lots of places.
Wonderful. So we just have to open up a closet and find something there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not a library, a wardrobe.
Exactly. Yes. And my final question for Elephant Fast today is, what do you read when nobody watches?
Well, I don't believe in guilty pleasures, so I have no shame whatsoever. My taste is so eclectic. I will read everything from, I'll reread Tolstoy or 19th century literature. I'll read Flaubert, and then I will also read something super commercial. I'm trying to think of something that I've got on my shelf. I read a lot of non-fiction, I suppose, increasingly. So I will read, I read weird stuff. I'm reading a book, for instance, at the moment about fungi, as in, mushrooms and things like that. And it's called Entangled Life. And I know nothing about fungi. And it's just fascinating when you pick up a book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, and you start to enter a world that you're interested in, but you know nothing about. And you can get that with any book at all. So I don't know. I mean, I recently read Elton John's autobiography.
It's been recently published in Romania too, so...
Yeah. Well, that's good, just because every single paragraph contains something scandalous. So it's just like, it's just like listening to the gossip from some person who's had this amazing life. No, I don't know. That was a terrible answer. I do apologize, but I don't have guilty reads. So I don't care who's watching. I will read my Elton John book, or I will read, something highbrow. I don't know.
That was really great. That was Matt Haig for Elephant Fast. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.